Yunis. So I was born in Africa. I got here around 3 years old. I moved here in 2003. I was raised in St. Louis City in Section 8 my whole life. We moved from South City, Delmar area to North City, and we were just moving back and forth. And then I think the last place we stopped at was in North City. I went to public schools in the area, and it wasn't the best fit for me. It definitely turned my life around. I got into things I wasn't supposed to, and got me expelled, I want to say like 3-4 times from school. Went to alternative school, and from there I just didn't know where my life was going. I didn't have any guidance or anything. All my family members didn't go to college or didn't have a career. They're all working 9 to 5. So the whole goal was, hey, go get a job and work the 9 to 5.
Which most of the time probably wasn't 9 to 5.
Yeah.
It was probably late at night.
Later nights, yeah.
Weird hours, yeah.
In 2017, I got into foster care because of some traumatic experience that happened to me. So I was unable to be at home for a while. And then from there, I want to say 2018, 2019, I got a job as a valet attendant at the Hyatt Regency. From there, I was getting paid $7 an hour, parking cars. I used to go into work very early, like around, my shift started at 3 to 11, but I used to get in probably like 2:30, 2:45, and just be ready to work. I want to say 2 months into it, my manager saw how much work I was putting in. He wanted to make me a manager, but there's other employees that were there a little longer, and he didn't feel like the position was right for me because of that. So another month later, he offered me a raise, and that was like 25 cents. From that point, I was just like, nah, this isn't really for me. So that's when I decided to think of a new way to, make money. I didn't know what I wanted to do. I didn't know if I wanted to go back to college. Because I did go to college to become an EMT. I finished that. They were getting paid $13 an hour, and Penn Express was getting paid $13 an hour. So I didn't see it make sense. At age 19, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I found out about that on a lot of investors and people, wealthy, kept talking about that book. I just wanted to know exactly what it was talking about. That night, I wanted to actually buy the book, but no location had it, and the only location that had it was like 45 minutes away. And I was very determined, so what I did was get in my car and drive 45 minutes just to get that book, just so I could read it that night, because I have an issue with if I say I'm gonna do something, the next day I'm probably not gonna do it, and then I'll just forget about it. So I was really determined to actually see what that book was about. I read it that night. I stayed up, I want to say, till like 1 a.m. just reading it. I think I got to like 3 chapters, 4 chapters that night.
How many people have read that book? Rich Dad Poor Dad? Audio. I did audio book. That's the book that also changed my life. Rich Dad Poor Dad. When I turned 30 years old, and Cole just had her 30th birthday on Monday.
I turned
So young. Your turn to read it. When I turned 30, that was the book that completely changed. I've always made, well, not always. Since I was in college, I've made six figures, but I've never kept any of that money. So Rich Dad Poor Dad is the book that actually taught me about the wealth building.
Yeah, that book definitely taught me a lot. Things I didn't know about, nothing my parents ever taught me, nothing school ever taught me. So it was just a whole life-changing experience for me in that book. I started listening to podcasts, also Bigger Pockets, and I was doing Uber at that time also. So while picking up the passengers, I listened to Bigger Pockets. I know they like to listen to music. I didn't really care. I was trying to get as much knowledge. I was trying to get as much knowledge. So some of them would get on and be like, "Oh my God, is there Bigger Pockets?" Or
can you change?
Yeah, can you change?
Episode 19. Yep.
It just keeps going and going and going. So actually, one day I was listening to Big Pockets, and I was picking these couples up from U-Haul, and they actually took their first house, and they made a ton of money. They were actually moving to, I want to say, California, and they were like, "Hey, real estate is really the way. Be determined, like continue learning, and actually take action and do it." So from that one experience, it was like, okay, what do I need to do next? How do I get serious about it? I discovered a real estate investor named X-Flipman off of YouTube, well, TikTok. He basically was wholesaling real estate. And watching his videos from there, taking his YouTube channel, started watching some of his YouTube, and that's what made me get into wholesaling real estate, which was an exciting adventure from there. And then I followed Sam Prin as a real estate investor on TikTok also, and he
But
definitely
someone from Faster House is going to be at your thing?
Lucas Walls, right?
No.
Oh,
Lucas,
okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
Lucas,
Lucas
yeah,
Walls,
I was
yeah.
gonna say Lucas will be, yeah.
So Sam basically opened my eyes up more from his investing experience. He kept saying, "Hey, I'm a millionaire from St. Charles, and I own over $30 million worth of rental properties." And as a child, or in any of my family members, we don't know any millionaires. So to me, it's just like, oh wow, I want to learn from this guy. I want to see exactly what he's doing in order so I can put my family in that position. Also, to be like, hey, you know, we made it as millionaires and stuff like that. So yeah, from there, I got into real estate investing. We can talk about the birds now.
Well, me to you.
Did you?
2020.
No, 2020. Okay, let me go ahead. Chris is he's definitely guided me. Okay, so from where we met, I want to say I got my real estate license, and then I didn't know what brokerage to join, and then there was a agent named Jennifer, and she basically was like, hey, there's a guy named Chris. He's our team leader, and he's done wholesale deals, and he's a real estate investor also. So she got me in contact with him. I think he was going on a trip that night too. He just called me, and then we got on a phone call. He's like, "Hey, I'm gonna be out of town, but we can meet up and we can discuss this a little bit further." I came in the first day, talked to him, and he was just letting me know. So I asked him a couple questions. My number one thing for me was my goal was like, "Hey, I want to have that $1 million net worth." So one of the questions I asked him was like, "How did you become a millionaire?" And he said by owning X amount of rental properties, got into that position. And I think he said he did it in like 3 years. And a lot of people told me that you can become a millionaire in 5 years. So I didn't know exactly what they meant by that. But when he told me he did it in 3, it just made me have that drive and wanted me to take action to see if I could beat him and do it in 2 years. You know, like a competition. If I could do it if he did it in 3. And yeah, so from there, Chris just been. I kept coming up to him. Every question I had involving real estate, I would go up to him and ask him like, "Hey, what do I do in this position? How do I get this funding for this deal?"
But quickly you started actually doing stuff. Like that's when because at first I dismissed you.
Yeah.
I was like, just go, trust me. Every realtor that comes, I said, just sell houses, make money, take that money, then buy investment property, then they talk.
Yeah.
But he was actually buying. He's like, hey, I bought 1, I bought 2, I bought 3, I have 8, I have 9. I'm like, okay, we can talk now.
So yeah, from that he just became more involved in like just helping me out, and anytime I had questions, he'd be there to answer for it. And then yeah, we do this now. But
yeah. So and then we have a couple properties together now too. So. All right. I'm hoping in around 7:15, so I'll probably move quick on some of these things. Financial wealth, I'm not going to read this word for word. I have 2 definitions of financial wealth or financial freedom. Maybe it's on the next. So my financial freedom number 1 is just how's my passive income, and I use that loosely, how's my passive income exceed my debt, right? To me, that's financially free. To me, that's not very exciting. Like to have $3,000 in bills and to have $3,000 of income come in, that's cool. But you're probably not going on vacations. You're probably not driving the car that you want to drive. You're not doing things that you want to do. So then I have like, what is like my FU financial free number? Like how do I really want to live? Like what do I want to drive? Like where do I want to vacation at? How long do I want to vacation for? My personal number is 30 grand a year, 20 grand a year. No, not 20 grand a year.
Yeah, I hope not.
Not 20 grand a year. I can teach everyone how to make 20 grand a year.
I found it. All my life.
20 grand a month is my financial free number. So that's my number that I can live the same lifestyle I'm living right now. I can go on vacations I want to go. I can work when I want with who I want to work with, do what I want. So that's my financial free number. Still a little bit a ways away from that. But just knowing that number the way I did, I just built it out. Like, what does my life by design look like? That's how I came up with that number. Again, like being financially free is cool. I almost guarantee most of us can become financially free within a year if we really want to. If you sold your car and lived in a cheap home, and you could probably live for $1,500 a month, and your rental property might make $1,000 a month. And if you live in a unit and house hack, you could probably become financially free. not gonna live a very fun lifestyle though, but you'd be financially free. Alright, step one.
Step one is buying. the
We're
property.
gonna go through, like, literally from start to finish on buying it, everything on the BRRRR.
Mhm. Step one is buying the property. Well, when you're buying, you gotta find the property also, so you gotta figure out where to buy it. But some of the financing that you can get is from a small local bank, doing a line of credit, leveraging traditional investments, hard money lender. The companies we have used is Dominion Financial, Kiavi does it, and Longhorn Investments, and then Faster House has Faster Funds that they use also.
Faster Funds is pretty decent terms too.
And then private money. For private money for me, I think my second year of investing, a plumber of mine actually, I had a shirt on that said, we buy houses for cash. He saw me walking. We have a restaurant, Somali restaurant. So while I was walking, he was there, and he was like, "Hey, what do you mean by that? Like, you buy houses for cash? What are you doing?" So I told him that, "Hey, we use other people's money to buy properties, fix them up, rent it out, refinance, pay them plus interest on their money." And from that little conversation, he was like, "Hey, I want to actually do something like that." So we met up again, and then he offered me to give me 30 grand for just rehabbing on the property, and I took it, gave him back 35 on the back end, and from there he was like, "All right, now I have 100 grand. What do you want to do with that?" And from our relationship from there, now he's wanting to give me like 200K cash to do whatever I need to do with it. Another private money lender is a family of mine. We used to go to a mechanic shop, and he saw me growing up.
And that's
so
when you know they're overcharging you too.
Yeah. So yeah, he saw me doing real estate also. I went to him before and asked him for money as a private money lender. He wasn't interested. He didn't see any of the work I've done. But then a year later, he actually saw all the projects I've been doing and actually saw me online on TikTok and was like, "Hey, I have $500,000 in my bank account. I want to put it to work. What can I do? What can you do for me to make that money work for me?" So just from that, relationships, that's how you can find your private money lender. You have to actually be doing the real estate side also for them to see it, to actually want to give you the money. So definitely take action in order for them to really, give you their money for you to use.
Yeah, and private money is gonna be a lot easier once you have a track record.
Yeah.
But, okay, we are gonna tell you how to find properties as well too. We'll go by them pretty quick. Off-market property is just a property that's not listed in the MLS. Probably not gonna find it on Zillow, not gonna find it on Realtor.com and any of those websites. Why find them off-market? Just less competition, your terms can be whatever they want. The contract that he probably wrote probably wasn't a realtor contract either. So even the contract that you're using can be whatever contract that you want. Doesn't have to, it probably isn't. Like, if I'm gonna buy a house on my own, it isn't a realtor contract. I will not write it on a SLAR contract. I have a different one that an attorney wrote up. So yeah, seller financing available. But yeah, so just finding an off-market property. In this market, you probably have to find an off-market property if you're looking for a BRRRR just because of the price that you have to buy it for. Couple ways of finding it. We've talked about these before, but driving for dollars.
Yeah, driving for dollars. I would say for me that was like the best way that I got started in, especially when I was starting wholesaling, because it allowed me to actually pick out what properties that I liked in what areas and just make a list of it. It did take a long time, but with Deal Machine, it allowed me to actually drive around and it collected data for me, so I could skip trades and concept owners from there.
And if you're
What was that you were talking about?
Deal Machine.
Deal Machine.
What is that?
You just pull up the app on your phone, you start driving down a road, and you start clicking on houses that look abandoned.
Yeah, and you can filter and it automatically
Yeah.
do it stuff also.
They'll automatically send postcards and stuff to them. So as a realtor or an appraiser, like as you're going to a house, you're still doing appraisal.
I used to do the research.
Used to,
stuff,
okay.
yeah.
So like, but as a realtor, like I would go to a neighborhood and you're gonna see houses that are abandoned, and I would just pull them up and I'd click just postcards, like any neighborhood I go to. Or if I know, like if I'm talking to a neighbor or someone says like, people are typically older in here, this neighborhood, people have lived in these homes forever, then that's a neighborhood I'm gonna hit, because I know they're probably outdated.
that's where those postcards came from.
Yeah, that's why I said, I
They were
guarantee,
driving for
because
dollars.
we do non-owner occupant postcards, which you get in Michigan, if that's your mailing address.
Huh?
If that's your mailing address.
Green Bay.
Green Bay, yeah, Wisconsin. Yeah.
Okay. Also for me, I also did, while I was doing Uber, that helped a lot for driving dollars because I had to do a machine on my phone and I was driving around constantly. Realtors is another thing. I know right now we have hotel listings with realtors, so that I bought a couple deals from there also. And it just, agents get like first dibs on it before it hits the market, and you can, get proper contract and go view it if the realtor allows. So
That might have been where your realtor found it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So I think they knew each other, so they
Yeah.
could talk, but yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have contractors and estate sales and direct mail, larger off-market properties.
All right, I'm gonna go through some of these, but you guys can just read them here, but wholesalers, landlords, REI groups like this one, courthouse steps, eviction records are probably one of my favorite. That's when landlords wanna sell them those. Magnet on the vehicle, I personally think those are tacky, but maybe somebody will call you off that. Radio, if you wanna do Google ads, you're probably gonna have to spend at least 10 grand. Or I would spend a lot if you're gonna do that. All right, and then, once you find the property, just how to analyze it. This is the formula that we use. 70% of value minus repairs equal to purchase price. If it's a nicer neighborhood, we started using different numbers. We might go like 85% of after repair value, minus repairs to purchase a house. So you might not get a lot of lenders right now want 25% down. So they were doing 20, now they're doing 25% down. But if it's a neighborhood that we wanna buy, and we're okay having a little bit of money out of pocket. 1% rule.
Yeah, so the 1% rule is the monthly rental income and for the purchase price, 1% of the purchase price.
This is getting a little bit harder to do. So $100,000 house should rent $4,000. That's just the easiest way. If someone sends you something, and they say like ARV is 100,000, what does it rent for? 800. Not interested. Depending on the area. The nicer the area, then less likely that number is to add up to that. So, they're still around though. I'm not going to go over estimating repairs.
Okay, create clarity around criteria and strategy. What type of single family home you want? If you want a small multifamily, apartments, commercial, Airbnb, short-term rental, flip, buy hold, or wholesale. And those are usually for what type of, if you want to either buy the property or wholesale them, turn to Airbnb and short-term rentals.
I mean, obviously for this, you're wanting to buy it as a rental. Is anyone doing just want a multifamily house?
For now,
Is that what you're looking for? What's your reasoning behind it?
just a little bit of privacy, so that if I bought a single family home and rented out my room,
Yeah.
rent like that,
Yeah.
I just like a little more privacy.
Yeah, yeah,
Plus I can do a smaller down payment if I'm
Yeah.
outside.
yeah, thanks. You can also assume a mortgage of someone with an FHA loan, or a VA loan if they have that on multifamily. So you can buy someone's 3% rate or 2.5% rate, whatever it is. So, and we can do a search by mortgage type on multifamily homes, and then you can target those specific homes. So that way, like, let's say like, for me, if I run my numbers and I'm in the 8% rate, 300,000 doesn't work for me because of the interest rate, but for you, it might work because you're able to live in it. So anything under 4 units or under.
And how do we search for those mortgages? It says search by.
Prop Stream would
Prop Stream.
probably be a good one. You can search by mortgage check on
Yeah,
Prop Stream.
Prop Stream.
Yeah.
Those FHA and VA loans are only suitable on multifamily or on residential?
On personal too.
On personal,
Yeah, but you have to be eligible for FHA or VA. Yeah.
Unless you get sub-2.
Like he, like,
Yeah.
the person assuming the mortgage would have to be eligible for those
Yeah, yeah,
assumptions.
yeah,
Gotcha.
yeah. So you can, and what you'll do is you'll potentially be able to offer that person more money than, you know, what they would normally get because you're buying them at the rate. So a lender's gonna charge you a couple, like, points or percentages of the loan amount for doing that. It's really not worth buying down the rate. But, the other thing with, multifamilies, the income isn't as, you know, if 3 units are rented out and 1 isn't, you're still getting a little bit of income. I like it also just because of the yard. There's 1 yard to cut instead of 4 different yards. The roof, there's only 1 roof on it. HVAC, water heaters, any of that stuff goes bad, there's just 1 property to go to. You know, if they're changing out an air filter for 1, then you can change out all 4. My recommendation, when you buy one, not if, but whenever you move into one, just say I work for the company or whatever. I wouldn't let them know that you do. Yeah, otherwise they're gonna, yeah.
So making offers, usually if the seller's asking price is much higher than the amount that you intend to offer, then say, I don't want to offend you with what I'm going to offer. We're so far apart, I'm not certain I'm even able to help you. Set the stage for the seller to think that you're going to offer much less than what you are actually going to offer. And then review the repair sheet with the seller, discover why the seller isn't going the traditional route.
It's like for you, like it might not be money, but it might be time or something. I don't know. It might have been like someone approached you and your parents were living in the home. It's like, well, great. If we're going to purchase this house in 5 years, how would that work for you? Or like, you know, what's significant for you other than money? Because a lot of times, like, if it's an inherited home and the person inherited has a lot of money, they really don't care. You know, they just want like the ease of being able to. And we just did like order house. Like the order house, like, hey, we'll take everything in the house. Don't worry about it. You just pack up and leave. And we did a lease back on it.
Yeah.
And it's like, great, you can stay until you find something cool, help you find a house, and then we close on the house. Like the money was great, but it was like that's what she really wanted.
See, I really should have met you a long time ago.
Yeah.
But that's okay, I'm here.
For purchase and sales, you want to hire a realtor, do a letter of intent, use title company, Berra Pockets, Office Depot, ask other investors if they have sales contract, purchase and sales contract, and also an attorney could also review and write it for you.
Yeah, on the Bigger Pockets website, they have a bunch of purchase contracts. I think they're by state also. I'd still have an attorney review them. But yeah, you can even go to Office. Is Office Depot still open? I think you can go to Office Depot and they have real estate contracts. So you just fill in the blank with them. All right, creating deals. Probably the easiest one, just to give an example, if you see a 2,000 square foot home, that's a 2-bedroom, see if you can sneak another bedroom in there or sneak a bathroom in there. And that's how you're buying it. That's how, two things. One, you're able to pay a little bit more than most people because they're looking at it as a 2-bedroom. And then 2, that's how you get your repair value, after repair value up a little bit higher. So, and again, like if you're gonna live in it, it's gonna be even better because you're probably gonna be able to pay a little bit more than like someone like that's just an investor, you know, looking for it. You want to talk about the rehab?
Yeah,
part?
rehab. The property's not a flip, so don't fix it up like a flip. So when you're looking at comps, make sure the property looks nice. Don't go overboard with it. Make it rental ready, make it look nice, because you also want to get that appraised value also. So don't go overboard, and don't think just because you make yours look nice and yours gonna be worth more. It's not. It's still gonna go up for what the other comps are going for. I made that mistake once. And yeah, I learned from it for sure. I'm definitely not doing that again. But yeah, definitely make it rental ready for all the units.
Yeah, the girl that spoke last time went to Illinois and walked through a couple of her properties. She does every flip like a rental, which is crazy. But she just does it all rental grade, and then if she can sell it, she sells it. If not, she rents it. So like her rehab costs are way lower than ours because of that.
Did you see the values she was talking about over there?
Yeah, it's crazy. They're not, I would compare the neighborhoods, probably to St. John, St. Anne, South City, Bevo Mill. Those are probably similar, like, class neighborhoods. It's weird over there because I don't know the area, so I don't really know what I'm looking at. But every 3-2 was worth about $150,000 and rented for $1,500. Numbers were, it was pretty good. Yeah.
Something we might look at.
Yeah. All right, so you buy it, you renovate it to rental grade. So again, just with rental grade, don't put like high-end stainless steel appliances or anything. I do like putting stainless steel, just not high-end. I wouldn't put any carpet. I would put the luxury vinyl flooring in it. But remember, like, you're gonna have 1 million of these rental properties. It's not your only property. That's probably the number one mistake. And Jeffrey, that's probably what your client did.
Yeah.
It was her first flip, and she wanted it to be the Taj Mahal.
Yeah,
and
she-
like, you're gonna do a lot of these like properties. Like, you can put marble, you can put gold floors, but it's still the. I mean, when I used to wholesale, my favorite thing was when someone would say, yeah, but if I do it right, I think I can get this much. And I'm like, I want your contract. What are you willing to pay for this house? Yeah, you're right. If you did it right. So,
For rent, so what I've used is called Tenant Turner, and that allows you to upload your property onto their site. It'll go to apartments.com or their rental and Zillow and everything. It also has a self-viewing lockbox, so tenants can actually schedule when they want to go look at the property, and then they can go view it themselves. They get their own specific codes, so in case anything does go missing, you can go back to the last tenant, that last prospective tenant that actually viewed the unit, and track them down honestly. And it does require them to have an ID, a patient ID on there, so you can actually have their ID, photos, where they live, and all the other information. And also, if they were interested, he does allow them to leave a review, so you can say exactly what they're liking about the units and what they're not liking, just so you can have a better understanding, like, hey, what do I need to fix? What did I forget there? And then if they wanted to apply, then they'll send them a link for your website to put the application in there. So that's one thing I've used. You can also use Rent and Ready. Rent and Ready also.
READI?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's READI. So another thing, just as you're building your portfolio, like, always think with the end in mind. The end being that you probably don't want to be in St. Louis year-round managing these things. So how do you do things remotely? And then how do not only you do it, but how does someone else ultimately do it? So you're not the one like putting the lock. You could hire a realtor, $25, and say, hey, would you run my lockbox on there? That's all they have to do. Put the lockbox on the door, then you can run it from Hawaii or wherever you're at.
Yeah.
Right? So again, like, freedom to me is time. Like, the money part's great, but it's really like my time. I don't want to be bothered.
I hated showing tenants the properties.
Yeah,
That definitely helps.
it's the worst part. It takes that part out of it. So.
For refinancing, so for me, I wouldn't say my first couple of deals was very hard trying to find that refinance company. I didn't know what to look for, but one thing to look out for when you are doing refinance is a DSCR loan. That's what you need to ask the banks. You want a DSCR loan in order to refinance that property. You can go to small local banks. I tried when I got started, but I didn't get great luck. I kept saying, hey, I want to refinance my property. They kept doing credit checks, and they were like, hey, we can't refinance that property. So I guess because they didn't want to invest in properties at that time. So from there, I started looking around.
They're looking at your credit, and they're looking at it's DSCR is debt service coverage ratio. So they're looking at how much income is the property bringing in. They don't care about your income. You can probably not have a job
No
as
income,
long
yeah,
as
no
no income,
income.
and as long as that property is exceeding the mortgage payment, they're okay with it. That's the whole purpose of that loan. So once you get to a certain amount of properties, then depending on your income, like you're not gonna qualify. So when like you're first getting started out and when you start making as much progress as he did right off the bat, like they're saying, well, you've only been in this for a year or two, you have 12, 15 properties, you're a risk. Even though that you're doing it, like you're a risk, so that's just a way around it.
So a couple companies that I want to recommend. I'll tell you the good and bad. Kiavi, interest rates are high, but they will get the job done. It's all online based, so usually we send emails, maybe 1 or 2 phone calls throughout that time. But they do DSCR loans, and they also do purchases also. Another company would be Dominion Financials. I've done a couple of refinances on them. I think, yeah, my first couple of deals I did refinance with them. Great company to work with. Their customer service is very bad. So, but they're very good too. They get the job done also. They don't require a lot of paperwork. And the last one would be Freedom Home Loans. They're good, but they require more documentation, but they also do get the job done also. So those are like 3 top that I would say are good to work with.
It's on single family homes? Or is
Single
it-
family, multi-family, yeah. So it's like 40.
Yeah.
And then
Well, some will do up to 8. I forget. There's
there's a company.
they'll do a little bit
Yeah.
larger.
And then there's the DSCR loan, is that in personal name?
On
or
the
is that
DSCR loan,
LLC.
LLC.
So that's really the only caveat is purchasing single family home through an LLC really opens up that door to the DSCR loan product?
Well, you can do it in your personal name.
Okay.
Yeah. I would do no, Caesar. Yeah. So the other thing is whenever you buy the let's say you buy the property with, I don't know, U.S. Bank. Chances are you're not gonna be able to refinance that property with U.S. Bank again. You're gonna have to wait 6 to 12 months. What I used to do is either pay, if you pay cash for it, and this is the funny part, everyone always says, if you pay cash, how do I refinance? And I'm like, well, you're actually not refinancing it, because you don't have a loan, on it, so you're not refinancing it. But you're getting so let's say you buy it, you put your $100,000 cash in, when you refinance that out of cash, they're gonna write you a check and I don't know why people can't understand this part, but you're gonna get a check back at closing. Just think of yourself as the bank, and you're getting your money back. If you actually do put yourself in first position, you actually have a better first position on the title. You have a better chance of getting a higher value back. Some banks are only going to give you, like, I just bought a house at Lake of the Ozarks last year, and I paid cash for it. The bank that I went through only gave me 50% cash out refi. 50%. I owned it outright. I was gonna do 80%. Well, they only gave me 50%. But I use the same institute that I do most of my stuff through, and I didn't go to somebody else. But so just be careful with that. So whenever you take out your initial loan, ask them, what's the seasoning period? Like, can you guys refinance this? Because if I buy a property today, August 2nd, right? If I buy a property today and I rehab it in, let's say, September, I'm gonna want to I'm gonna get a tenant in, and by October I want to refinance it. Well, a lot of banks aren't gonna allow you to do that. So you're paying your interest-only loan, hard money or whatever, for 6 months or 12 months. So make sure that they'll allow you to refinance it. Questions on that? This is probably the hardest part of the BRRRR. That's not hard. It's the hardest part to comprehend. Can you explain it any differently?
No, I think it.
Has anyone ever did this before on a house? Well, how'd you do it?
You basically have to.
What bank did you use?
Merrimack, out there in Valley Park.
Small bank?
And, basically, you know, they were like, you know, you have 8 pieces of rental property, and, you know, you just had to wait the season time.
Yeah, so you had to wait till seasoning time. Okay. So sometimes what we'll do is we'll use a company like Dominion, hard money, and then when we're finished with this process, we'll refinance with another lender. So you don't have to wait for the season period. But if you have all of your properties at Merrimack, then you might want to keep it there.
In small banks sometimes, you know.
Small banks, you might be, Bank of Springfield might allow you to get away with this.
Yeah, I had, before the boom, had a relationship with a small bank that basically, sorry, they gave me like all my funds up front for what it was gonna be, what the RV was gonna be.
Bank of
They went
Springfield
ahead-
will do that.
Yeah, they loaned on what the RV was gonna be, including the rehab costs and everything. And we just went ahead and started paying
Yeah.
mortgage like that from day one. And then they just brought the appraisal
Yeah.
in at the end to make sure we did everything we said we were gonna do and checked all
Yeah.
those fine.
Which I don't know why most people don't, because then they get to keep the loan.
Right. Yeah, but they didn't prefer doing it that way, then now we're back to the regular part where I either use private money or hard money to buy it and rehab it
Yeah.
and then take it to the bank. Like you said, the difference between a cash out refinance and a true
Yeah.
refinance is a big deal.
Yeah, it's different, so. Questions on this? None? Alright. Yep, and then you just do it again.
That's the best part.
Yeah, yeah. Any questions at all?
So typical seasoning period of any DSCR loan would be 3 to 6 months.
Yeah. Everything is different.
Yeah, it might be different.
DSCR is what you're refinancing into.
Into,
Okay, so the typical hard money loan is.
well,
3 to 6
so
months.
not necessarily the hard money. If you were to buy from Bank A
Yeah.
and refinance with Bank A again, it's probably 6 months to a year. But if you get your original one with Bank A and then 3 months later go with Bank B, you probably don't have a
Why
problem.
would anyone just do that with Bank B then? Why would anyone stay with Bank A?
Because they're your relation,
Yeah,
it would
you
make,
guys just
it would
have
make
to-
sense for Bank A to refinance.
But there's typically no incentive as far as
No.
terms or rates or anything like that. There's really no incentive.
So, well,
So
we
long-
get a lower rate, but we have to hold our properties for 3 years.
Would you say 3 years?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's just banks that rules.
What's
Bank,
the-
yeah,
what's
it's
the
not,
stop-
it's not the,
it's just-
it's not the bank necessarily,
Yeah, it
it's,
could be. What's the stop Bank B from asking about the season period from Bank A? Like, oh no, we saw you just.
no, they know that, they know
They
that.
don't care.
It's just the same, because a bank can't, well, I mean, I don't wanna put my foot in their mouth. Most banks can't short-term loan. They have to lend out money for a certain period of time. They can't, it'd be considered hard money. If you borrowed
Yeah.
that money for a month and then paid them back,
Yeah.
so, yeah.
And Bank A just knows you're gonna go to Bank B and refinance it. They don't lend money.
That's the part that doesn't make any sense to me. Because they're taking all the risk, in my opinion.
I mean, they get some interest in like stuff up front.
They're getting interest only. But, yeah. When they're, like, if you can take out a loan for the full amount, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah.
I think Bank of Springfield still does that. Yeah. They'll give you like 80% or 75% of ARV right off the bat.
So you can give you your equity you want right up front.
You have to do a disbursement account.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kind of scope of work too.
Yeah.
Nothing too crazy.
I just, for mine, then we get into my bank, and not really, doing as much, but, yeah, basically just wrote the paragraph there, that we're gonna do, like, bathroom here, I didn't have to make it fancy or nothing, just bathroom here, we're doing kitchen, we're doing exterior, we're doing.
I found it difficult to get financing, walk into Commerce Bank rather than dealing with for 3 years, I think 800 credit score, told them about the BRRRR program, you get the year in headline.
Yeah, they told one of my clients that,
You're too much of a risk.
they told one of my, actually two stories. One of my clients, they said a HELOC isn't made for that. And I go, that's exactly what you can use it for whatever you want. And another person, they got denied at an 800 credit score for, with a sizable amount in their retirement account. They said it was too big of a risk.
Basically, depending upon where the property is at, they say, give us your address. And if it's in the city, they have it rated in 3 tiers, low risk, medium risk, and high risk. And if it's low risk, they're only gonna loan you maybe 60%.
Yeah, you have to go really, the smaller the thing, the better.
Oh.
I mean, smaller the better. My first loan when I got into real estate was with, in Fenton, Lindell Bank just bought them. Rockwood Bank. And it was a handshake deal, and that was in 2015. I don't even know if they're granting my credit.
What's Linville like now?
I don't use them though. I don't know.
I haven't used it ever, I mean, a couple people, whenever we ask what bank.
Yeah, Linville I think is good.
Linville comes up.
Carrollton Bank I've heard is good.
First Collinsville?
Huh?
First Collinsville?
Probably. I don't know.
First Green Collinsville.
Yeah. Yeah. Cool. All right, we'll hang out for a couple minutes, and so thanks for coming, guys.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.